Hi Lucy, Scott from Hey You Guys. Lovely to see you.
Nice to see you.
Congratulations. I'm alright. I
Good.
blitzed this in like a day.
Oh my God.
It's pretty hard to stop watching, I'll be perfectly honest with you. What was it like when you read the scripts for the first time? Because I imagine they were you were kind of as obsessive as I was watching it, reading them, I can imagine.
It was definitely a whirlwind. I was excited just to get into it. Seeing Ryan and Brad's name on that, you know it's going to be something different than what we're already seeing. You know it's going to be something strange and wonderful. And getting into the world of all of these characters and the politician was not a disappointment at all. I mean, I'm so proud to be a part of a TV show that addresses all of the things that it does. So that was the first thing that I got very excited about, especially in the way that he does it. He's very conscientious of everyone and everyone's feelings and experience. So it was very exciting.
Now, Astrid is a very curious character. She's got a lot of layers to her. I mean, from the outset, it looks like she's going to be the bad guy, but actually there's a lot of kind of sadness to her and her upbringing and everything else. I mean, what was it about her that kind of drew you to her? Because there's so much to her.
I think it is that we've seen a version of her character in a lot of shows and movies that is quite patronizing to her experience, because it's so easy to be the stereotype mean girl without looking further. And I think to encourage people to do that, to look a little further at the person underneath the label and the facade, is really powerful. And that's what kind of drew me to Astrid, I think, that you do in the first few moments that you exist with her think that she's going to be that mean girl, and then you see her parents, and then you realize that she's kind of cast herself in that role, and that's the only way she knows how to survive and thrive in that setting. So it was a really interesting character to explore.
And I guess with obviously you've done Bohemian Rhapsody and other characters, this one you get to spend much more time with her. I mean, was that kind of liberating that you get to delve into much more than maybe you would in a 2.5 hour movie?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially the way that we received the scripts kind of two at a time. So we knew roughly what was going to happen, but never in detail. So it was always an exciting day when the scripts come in, when the brown envelope comes in. But I think it forces you to be much more pragmatic. In a movie, you can kind of map out your character arc and know exactly where you want her to go when. Whereas with Astrid and this show, you couldn't afford to do that. You had to be more spontaneous. So it was it was a kind of fuller experience. You had to stay closer to Astrid much more.
Just finally, let me ask you about this incredible cast with Ben at the top of it, who is incredible in the movie, but there's so many amazing performances. I mean, what was it like being in that company? Because everyone brings so much to every single moment.
It was incredible. I mean, you prepare your scenes the way you kind of want to do them, and then you're sitting there with Dylan McDermott, and he's doing his whole thing, and you suddenly realize that you don't have to do anything at all. You just respond to what he's doing, and it kind of reminds you of what it really means to do this job. And just working alongside people like that is so terrifying and inspiring.
Just finally, I wanted to ask you about Bohemian Rhapsody. Were you prepared for the level of success and acclaim that was going to come from it? Not just for the film itself, but for Rami, but for all of you. I mean, that level, you couldn't have imagined anything like that, I can imagine. So I blitzed this show in like a day. It's like a book, put it down. I couldn't stop watching. I can imagine there was many reasons for you to get involved, but
yes.
I read somewhere that you said it was very much against type for you. I mean, was that the kind of the main swing that it was very different for you?
Yeah, I would say the fact that it was a bit of a 180 and that I was able to play someone who's a little more aggressive and assertive and took up a little more space and a little more confidence, and also the fact that it was a Ryan Murphy piece. It's hard to say no to that. He's a brilliant creator. He's a behemoth of television, and you feel very safe on his set because you know he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, there's so many layers to him as well. I mean, he obviously wants to have the power and have the politics, but also he's suffering from heartbreak, and he's come from a broken family. You know, he's adopted and everything else. I mean, what was it specifically about him that you thought would give you the best platform to bring him to life?
I think about Ryan or the character?
About the character.
Yes. I think that Ryan was very smart in creating a character that played on some of the strengths that I have with vulnerability and sort of access to that, and yet forced me to sort of turn all of the other sort of aspects of him on its head as far as the people that I played before. And I think the combination of being able to use the tools that I'm comfortable using, but in a brand new sort of mask was, I felt pretty confident that I could do it. And also Ryan had a faith in my ability to do it much before I had it in myself. So I really wanted to deliver for Ryan and rise to the occasion.
He tends to attract quite a fantastic cast and array of people.
Yes.
What was it like working with Gwyneth and also the great Bob Balaban? I mean, that must have been absolutely incredible.
No one is talking about Bob Balaban, which to me was like
Balaban.
one of the craziest parts. It was wonderful. I mean, Gwyneth in particular immediately felt very maternal and protective towards me and very intimately connected with me and made me feel like an equal, which is, I was, very intimidated by Gwyneth Paltrow, as we all would be. And I think it really comes across in the relationship between Peyton and his mother, and I think it was really important to all of us that be a very grounded and human relationship, because that's a very important component of Peyton's character. And she's just wonderful, dream.
And not to give anything away, but if there was a possibility of going back, are you hopeful that there's enough audience for you to go back and revisit him because he's in a different moment in his life as the show goes on?
Yes, I think so. We're gonna make a second season as soon as we're finished promoting this first one, and it's going to be a whole new arena with a new opponent, and I think it's going to be very exciting to see how the tone will transfer to a new locale.
And Bette Midler. It's all good for me. Thank you so much for your time. Absolute pleasure.
Nice
Congratulations.
To meet you.
Tell me a little bit about the process of coming into this, because it's Ryan Murphy, comes with a certain pedigree and everything else. What was it that attracted you to this project and also Infinity herself?
I guess, I became an actor. If you want to sum it up quickly, I became an actor because I've always been very curious, about people. I'm curious about you, I'm curious about other people's lives in general, and I would be out of my mind as a curious actor to not be intrigued or want to play Infinity Jackson. She is fascinating, and as for working with Ryan, I think it would be impossible to not recognize that he's been such a trailblazer of making sure that all different types of people and voices and representation are seen and heard in all of his work. So always wanted to work with him, and I feel very blessed that I got to.
Did you find out more than you had known before about the Munchausen by proxy kind of syndrome? I mean, was that something that Ryan wanted you to research, or did he want to kind of leave it to the performance and let you discover it as you were going?
He didn't talk much about that with me, but I love all the research. That's my favorite part of it. I didn't go to college, so I'm constantly feeling guilty that I don't have a grade A education. So every time I take a new part, I feel like I'm gotta take a crash course and learn something with my useless brain. So it was fun to research that and get into that mindset. And it's difficult to talk about any of this without spoiling all of it. So.
How was it working with Jessica Lange? I mean, that must have been very, very exciting.
Very, very exciting. I'm a big fan of her as an actor and also as a photographer, so getting to just interrogate her and fangirl over her Langeness was a great, great blessing in my life.
And just very quickly, we've seen you in the trailer for Zombieland 2 as Madison, and you're re-teaming with Glenn Powell again, which so many people are excited for. It must be great to be able to pick and choose fantastic projects as you're going, something like Zombieland, and then going to work with Glenn Powell again and everything in between.
The movie with Glenn will be the first movie that I did get to pick and choose. Otherwise, I'm still begging. I'm not at the place where that's what I want. I'm like, will you take me? I've auditioned for all these, and just, the universe works out in the way it's supposed to. But I feel very lucky that, with The Politician and Zombieland, they feel very different. They feel very fun. They're very bright and colorful and interesting and not mumblecore-y. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel grateful.
Thank you so much for your time. Pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you. Tell me a little bit about getting involved with this one, because I know you've worked with Ben before, but I can imagine the lure of Ryan Murphy was quite a big pull as well.
Yeah, so I've actually worked with Ryan and Brad and Ian on Glee. So this was a really cool convergence of people in my life. It was really amazing to get to work with these two people that have been such a big part of my artistic career.
What was it about McAfee that spoke to you? Because she's a bit of a, McAfee, lack of security, isn't she, in many ways, trying to put out fires left and right. I mean, what drew you to her? Because she has her own storyline and she has her own kind of complexities and her own narrative, if you like.
I think she's so completely herself, and she's unapologetically herself, which is very exciting. And she's incredibly intelligent, which is really fun. And I think she sees 50 years into the future. She's thought of every contingency plan, and that's really exciting to get to play somebody who's thought everything through in such a way.
What was it like working with Ben again? Because he knocks it out of the park in this. He's absolutely fantastic. And there's a great company of actors, even, obviously Lucy and Zoe are here today, but the guys on everybody brings their A game. That must have been fantastic to be part of.
Yeah, it was amazing. We would have moments where we would look at each other on set and just tell each other how incredibly lucky we are that we get to do this again with each other, and it feels just really special.
Are you looking forward to going back if the season 2 comes to fruition?
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a great time.
Look forward to it as well. Thank you so much for your time. Pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.